Okay, good morning everybody. Welcome to our videos. Now our group will presentation about equivalence and equivalence effect. But before our group presentation, our group will introduce ourselves. Okay, my name is Fenidora Tafuli and my friends.
My name is Imelda Nahak Klau.
My name is Nelson Cortereal Dacosta.
My name is Lidia Klara Pires.
My name is Aurelia Erika dan Soares.
Okay, let's start to presentation. For the first speaker, time is yours.
Translation equivalence is an important concept of translation theory. It is one of the main principles of Western theory of translation. Finding translation equivalence is one of the core problems of the translation process. As Catford states, the central problem of translation practice is that of finding TL equivalent. A central task of translation theory is that of defining the nature and condition of translation equivalence. Catford 1965, page 21. The concept of equivalence was used to distinguish the difference between free and literal translation. In their opinion, equivalence in translation set deal with passing the meaning of the text. Backers who says this approach state that equivalence is used for the sake of convenience because mass translations are used to it rather than because it has any translation status. Can 1998, page 77. Despite different attitude to the concept of the equivalence, most of the specialists pay much attention to its meaning in the theory of translation. The next speaker.
Importance of equivalence in translation theory. In the theory of translation, the term the equivalence is used in its general meaning because it is hard to find absolute identical words and nations in different languages. Different languages have different phonetic, grammar, syntax, and vocabulary structures. That is why we can speak only about certain degree of equivalence when we make translation. Translation is a form of communication, and that is the reason it is so important to establish equivalence between the source text and the target text. And the next,
Theory of translation equivalency. Catford's theory of translation was criticized by many scholars. Snell Hornby became one of the most activity critics of Catford's idea. She called equivalency in translation to be an illusion and didn't believe that translation could be regarded as a merely linguistic process. She exposed the notion of equivalency on different levels and applies it to the translation process. One, the grammatical level, and two, the level of the text. The view of different specialists of equivalency in translation by Roman Jacobson made a valuable contribution to the development of translation theory. Roman Jacobson distinguished three kinds of translation. The first, intralingual, or dealing with one linguist. This means intralingual translation does not imply full equivalency between language units. The second, interlingual, or dealing with two linguists. This means that the task of translation becomes to reach equality in message despite different grammatical, lexical, and semantic structures of CT and TT. The last, intersemiotic, or dealing with sound systems. This means is a view as the basis of cultural communication, thoughts, with idea or circulated. The next speaker.
Equivalence in translation, pros and contrast. Translation is a complex phenomenon which is hard to define. It helps to pass the meaning and from one language to another, and very often equivalence becomes that measure which helps to define the success of this process. A lot of specialists stress on the important role of the equivalence for the translation. Translation is a bridge which helps to link people who do not understand each other. This way, equivalence becomes the measure of success of translation process. The more equivalent the source can the target the text are, the better communication goals will be achieved. Equivalence is often used by the specialists who count on linguist approach to the achieve maximum linguist, grammar, and structural equivalence. Their open center on the sense and meaning rather than on the form, and thus do not give too important role to the equivalence or value the equivalence in meaning rather than in its form. The next.
Okay, conclusion. Equivalence is a complex term which describes phenomena from different spheres of human knowledge. In the field of translation, it first appeared in the middle of the last century, and since then has become an important indicator of the translation process. Most translation theorists and researchers pay attention to the equivalent in translation, despite the fact that their opinions on this phenomenon may differ. Some specialists believe that the equivalent may be regarded as a synonym of the translation process. Others believe that the equivalence should not cause the loss of meaning despite different approaches. The equivalent is an important notion in the translation process, and it helps to message of the text, approach the meaning and value of the translation process in general. Thank you.
Okay, this is our presentation from our group. Don't forget to
Like, comment,
Share.
And subscribe.
bye bye.
Bye bye.